Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/malicious compliance. Take off my earphones while you're speaking to me? Sure, no problem, officer. Happened this morning. Even though I made a complete and full stop at a four-way stop, I get pulled over by a police vehicle, lights flashing, the works. I turn my dash cam around to face me and whomever goes in front of the driver's side window. I roll it down and ask what seems to be the problem, officer. Officer looks at me the way one would look at a sticky piece of gum stuck to the bottom of one's shoe. You didn't make a complete stop, he says. I adjust one of my hearing aids, lost part of my hearing due to being a touring session musician previously, and before I could speak, he firmly orders, "Sir, take off your earphones when I'm talking to you." I take both hearing aids off and look at him. I can read lips a little, but we're both masked so I can't understand what he's saying. I communicate in sign language simultaneously while speaking verbally. "I'm deaf and I didn't understand what you just said. Can you communicate to me in American Sign Language, please?" He points at my hearing aids that look like Apple AirPods, motioning me to put them on. I respond, "Yes, officer, without those I can only communicate in American Sign Language. Please instruct me in American Sign Language and I will be compliant in every possible way." He looks at the dashcam that's neatly pointed squarely at us and mumbles, "For F's sake." He then motions for me to go, giving me 2 thumbs up. Needless to say, I rolled up the window and drove away as fast as legally allowed. Couldn't wipe the smile off my face all day, lol. Addendum, whoa. 13K likes in a span of less than 2.5 hours. Thanks all. Don't worry, I'll update with a YouTube link as soon as I and a more gadget-savvy nephew extract the footage. I will not be driving the car to preserve the video and to not risk getting it recorded over. Cheers. Next story. Ex-husband ghosts ex-wife, racks up a huge bill. He clearly didn't think things through. My compliance was malicious for the ex-husband. I'm working in the billing queue in a call center for one of big 3 telcos, and a client calls in regarding a billing concern. This lady calls in, is puzzled by why she got charged a one-time fee $49 for a wireless access point. It's Gen 1 equipment for wireless set-top boxes for optic TV. She's even more puzzled, why would she have that charge when she doesn't have TV services from us? And I inform she does, it started more or less a month ago. She's disputing that because optic TV isn't available in her area. Now I'm confused. She lives in a small town and there's no optic TV there. I do a little digging and find out that someone, no ex-husband, was still her on account and got 3-year contract to get a free TV for optic TV and internet. She begins to cry on the phone and tells me her now ex-husband had an affair with a younger woman, divorced her, milked her for as much as he could and apparently still is milking her for more. He totally ghosted her. Moved to Alberta, changed his email, phone number, blocked her on all social media, etc. In my mind I'm like, what a jerk. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry if you cancel the services you're on hook to pay for cancellation fees and so on. I can tell her though, I can remove his access to your account and you can also add on a password, downgrade the internet and TV to the bare essentials, and I can attempt to redirect the TV gift from his address to hers, but there's no guarantee as it's been processed already. I can hear the light going off in her head. Wait, what? You have where he's living it now? Why, yes. He's got TV and internet services, so there's a service address. She goes really quiet, says her lawyer and herself have been trying to track him down, but his family and friends are being tight-lipped about it. She asks if I'm allowed to give that info to her. I smile and reply, "This is your account. You have unrestricted access for service address, phone numbers, emails that your now ex-husband provided to us to get hooked up." She asks that I can give her his new address, his new cell number, and the second number left on the account, presumably the new woman, and contact info over the phone right now. I asked if she had a pen and paper handy. She was so ecstatic. And after giving her all the details from her account regarding the second service address, downgrade everything, and he was a hockey fan and there was a game playing right now with his team, so I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when the game cuts out and he calls in to ask what the F and discovers has been removed, and there's an account pin and he's been discovered by his ex-wife and lawyer. Next story. Sorry, I deleted all the files you told me to delete. My job was to design and write software prototypes for individual high-value customers. If they liked it well enough, then a real software engineering team would build the real product. Occasionally, I would run the prototype for a few months while the customer evaluated if they wanted to buy the real project. Now these prototypes are not a lot of code, but they do run with a lot of data. Even compressed, it can be a terabyte or more. Having done this work for years, I've accumulated a small disk farm of past projects, which can be very useful when a customer asks for something just like we did last year, but with a small change or two. The company resisted buying hard drives for this, but it saves me so much time. I ended up buying 1 or 2 a year myself until I accumulated about 10 of them. Figure over $1,000 worth of external drives. Then unexpectedly management changes. New management thinks they can replace old software guy with a cheaper new software grad, and I am laid off, with 2 weeks to train my replacement. Yes, it's blatant age discrimination, but impossible to fight, so I just went for a graceful transition to my next job. Except, I have $1,000 of personal disk drives with old customer data on them. Company insists that no ex-employees may take any company data off premises and all files must be deleted. I don't want to just leave the drives at the company, but they insist I must delete all data before taking them home. So I offer. They can buy them from me. I will eventually use them for something else, but I can leave the data on them in case someone needs it. Not good enough. New manager insists I must delete all data and all backups before I remove the drives. Okay. That's what I do. 6 months later, I get a series of desperate phone calls. New software grad has been unable to build any new prototypes. Old customers are calling to get old prototypes updated, and new software grad has no idea how to do that. Executive Vice President is calling to ask what would it take to bring me back to do my old job. Sorry, I've got a new job now. And even if I didn't, I cannot just modify the old prototype because you insisted I delete all old copies of it. If I did want to modify it, I'd first have to recreate it from scratch. The code still exists in their source control, but the data is the heart of the prototypes. And that old series of 6 months apart data we collected is gone for good, no matter what. Sorry, you screwed yourselves exactly like I told you would happen. Hope whatever you saved by hiring a new grad to replace an actual experienced programmer was worth it. Next story. You want a man to help you? No problem. One will clock in soon. This happened 16 years ago. When I was about 20 years old, I was a department manager in a big box hardware store. People said I acted 25, but I didn't even look 18. As a young female, I saw my fair amount of sexual discrimination, but the worst always came from women. This is the story of one such woman. I managed the paint department. I had 3 associates who worked for me. They loved me as a boss because I bought them a department radio, took the shifts they didn't want. Worked Friday close and Saturday mids so my 2 younger guys could have time to have fun on Friday nights, and the older gentlemen took early Saturday mornings so they could sleep off their fun. In trade, I gave the older gentleman his ideal schedule. My team was awesome. One day I was in the department alone and a lady came up and asked me where she could find the 5-gallon oil-based primer. I let her know that my location didn't carry the 5-gallon size of that primer. She told me that we did and said that it was shelved right there while suggesting I was too stupid to remember. Her husband gave me an apologetic look. I let her know that another location had what she was looking for and that it was in fact in that exact location in that store. She let me know how stupid she thought I was for thinking she could mix up stores. Then, she began yelling and loudly insisting that I get a man out there to help her because she wanted someone competent and not a stupid little girl. Her husband actually tried to step in at that point, but I just smiled and let her know that a male paint associate would be clocking in any minute and that I would be happy to direct him to her as soon as he is on the clock. I smiled and waited for Joe to clock in. Joe was great and I knew he could handle this or I wouldn't have put him in this situation, but Joe was also new. He was learning things super quick, but still relied on the rest of us for help. When I saw Joe walking up, I quickly said that there was a customer who needed help. I let him know that she was upset and asked him to do his best to answer her questions. Joe walked up to the lady. She said, "Finally, a man." She asked her question, explained where the product should be, and waited. Joe calmly let her know that he had never seen us carry 5-gallon size of oil-based primer, but said he could check with the paint department manager. She was happy and loudly said she was happy to be getting some real help. Joe walked up to me and started to ask me about 5-gallon oil-based primers. The lady quickly walked up and asked him what he was doing. He turned and said, "This is my manager. She runs this department." The husband laughed out loud, the woman stormed off, and I bought Joe lunch. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.